You've consumed countless teachings, chased mystical experiences, and titrated your practice for peak states. Yet most gurus sweep one crucial secret under the rug. Enlightenment isn't a blissful high. It's a ruthless deconstruction of everything you cherish. I'm Silent Flame. In this series, we'll rip off the veil and expose the shadowy costs, taboo pitfalls, and hidden agendas lurking behind the promise of awakening. Prepare to have your beliefs shattered and your comments ignited. Enlightenment stories paint luminous sunsets, but the real threshold feels like dying to your former self. Ego extermination. The self you've built, your goals, your identity, your comforts, must fall apart. This surrender can trigger an existential crisis far deeper than any dark night. Emotional carnage. As attachments dissolve, issues you've numbed for years, grief, rage, shame, flood back with full force. Many who brave the void find themselves raw, unmoored, and desperate for relief. The abyssal mirror. In the silence beyond concepts, there's nothing comforting to cling to. You stare into your own emptiness, and the terror can be so profound that most flee back to beliefs and habits. Test of madness. History abounds with mystics who cracked under the weight of insight. Mazes of visions, psychotic breaks, self-destruction. Enlightenment can be the most dangerous high of all. Before you chase that final light, ask yourself, do you have the courage to die to everything you think you are? Behind every charismatic master lies an untold record of collapsed lineages and unspoken breakdowns. The smiling facade. Publicly, teachers radiate serenity. Privately, they wrestle with doubt, addiction, and ethical lapses. Secrets that, if revealed, would implode their followings. Selective transmission lineages emphasize triumphant anecdotes, rare feats, sudden awakenings, while burying decades of struggle. You're sold the highlight reel, never the grueling rehearsal footage. The cult of personality students idolize teachers, surrendering critical thought. This herd dynamic ensures silence around failures and perpetuates cycles of disillusionment when the guru inevitably falters. Tuition paid in disillusionment. The deeper you go, the more you discover your teacher's blind spots. Many pay the price: shattered faith, spiritual cynicism, or worse, losing their own inner compass. Trusting the master without probing their shadow is like walking a tightrope blindfolded, thrilling until you plunge into the abyss. Behind glossy adverts for week-long retreats and VIP spiritual coaching, a ruthless machine preys on your deepest longing, turning liberation into a luxury commodity. Retreat resorts as spiritual theme parks, 5-star hotels rebranded as ashrams, gourmet vegan buffets, infinity pools, sound baths marketed as ancient wisdom. You pay thousands to tick off another exotic location, mistaking comfort for true transformation. Pay-per-enlightenment online gurus sell levels of awakening, bronze, silver, gold tiers with escalating price tags. Each tier promises deeper states, exclusive mantras, one-on-one calls, yet the only thing deepening is their bank account. Merchandising the mystic. From branded mala beads to empowered crystals, every tool is sold as indispensable. You're trained to believe that without the right app, audio course, or sacred object, your practice is doomed to mediocrity. Subscription to faith monthly memberships lock you into endless payments for guided meditations, secret webinars, and premium teachings. The illusion of community masks a cycle of dependency where leaving feels like spiritual betrayal. When liberation requires a credit card, you're no longer seeking freedom. You're financing your own enslavement. Public retreats show gentle breathwork and loving-kindness chants. But in hushed corridors and VIP lounges, far darker practices lurk, rituals whispered only to the paying few. Shadow initiations, secret ceremonies involving isolation, sensory deprivation, or ego-crushing ordeals, sold as purification. Participants emerge disoriented, belief bound tighter by trauma than insight. Sacred sexual alchemy. Under the guise of advanced tantra, students are drawn into exploitative sexual rites. Promised as the pinnacle of union, these practices often feed narcissistic power dynamics and emotional ruin. Psychedelic gatekeeping access to plant medicine ceremonies reserved for the affluent or dedicated. You're told that without that sacralized trip, true awakening is impossible, reinforcing the myth that spiritual breakthroughs have a price. Blood oaths and loyalty, tests. Some lineages demand coded vows, oaths to obey the teacher unquestioningly, punishments for dissent. These cult-like rituals ensure control, cloaked in the language of devotion and rightness. True wisdom shuns secrecy. When a practice is hidden behind silence and fear, it isn't liberation. It's bondage masquerading as sanctity. Every spiritual path promises liberation, yet dogma often dresses up as freedom, binding you tighter under the guise of higher truth. Recognize the snare before you spring it. The freedom paradox. Doctrines preach release from the self, while prescribing rigid belief systems. You're told, follow these tenets and you're free, but each rule becomes a mental cage, limiting direct experience. Canonical chains. Ancient texts canonize teachings as sacrosanct. Questioning them is portrayed as sacrilege, not inquiry. Ironically, uncritical reverence to scripture replaces authentic insight with second-hand dogma. Language of liberation. Phrases like one truth, ultimate reality, and only path intimidate nuance. They seduce you into binary thinking. Either you're in or out, erasing the vast middle ground of lived paradox. The Guru's Creed. Teachers who equate dissent with delusion wield dogma as weapon. They brand independent minds as lost, coercing conformity. The very promise of spiritual freedom becomes an instrument of control. When the map claims to be the territory, your journey ends in circles. True freedom demands stepping off every prescribed trail. Behind every serene teaching video lies a trail of seekers who shattered against the ideal. These untold stories reveal the hidden cost of chasing a polished version of awakening. The burnout yogi. After years logging strict schedules and austere vows, she collapsed with adrenal failure and panic attacks. Her devotion to purity ignored the body's signals until there was nothing left to surrender. The disillusioned monk. He abandoned lay life to live in a cave, only to find that isolation amplified his loneliness into despair. Without community or compassion for himself, his quest for silence became a torture chamber. The traumatized retreatant. Lured by promises of bliss, he endured a silent retreat only to face decades-old trauma unleashed by extreme silence. Lacking proper support, his mind fractured under the weight of unintegrated shadows. The ex-disciple, expelled from a high-profile lineage for raising questions, she lost not only her teacher, but her sense of worth. Branded a heretic, she drifted into cynicism, convicted that awakening was a lie. These sorrowed voices are the price tags of polished Enlightenment brands. Proof that behind every sacred facade, Human fragility waits to be acknowledged. In spiritual circles, silence is golden until it buries the voices that need to be heard. Questioning authority isn't rebellion, it's the heartbeat of genuine awakening. Concealed cries for help. When doubts arise, seekers often swallow them to avoid stigma. But unspoken questions fester, fueling hidden resentment and spiritual isolation. Speaking up can save not only you, but the entire Sangha. The tyranny of niceness. Saying nothing feels polite, but it smothers truth. Conformity becomes a norm, and the Sangha's well of wisdom stagnates. Honest inquiry is the antidote to complacency, sacred outrage. Righteous anger at hypocrisy isn't a moral failing. It's a signal that your inner compass is alive. Channel that fire into fearless dialogue, not bitter complaint. Question as compassion. When you dare to ask the hard questions about ethics, lineage, real transformation, you act from compassion for future seekers. Your doubt can become a guiding light. Silence protects traditions, but questioning protects truth. To bow without asking is to crucify your own awakening. Beneath the polished veneer of enlightened masters lie truths too raw for public view. To approach genuine awakening, you must confront these hidden realities. The loneliness of the peak. Even the most revered teachers endure isolation. No one truly understands the crackling aloneness at the brink of dissolution. Their smiles mask nights of terror and existential dread. Compromised ethics. To maintain power and funding, some lineages bend moral codes. Inappropriate relationships, financial coercion, spiritual bypassing of genuine care. These abuses are hushed to protect the institution. Failed awakenings. Not every disciple completes the path. Some crash mentally or wander in aimless cynicism when promised insights never materialize. These human failures are excised from the lineage narrative. The myth of permanent enlightenment is taught as a permanent state, yet even realized practitioners report regressions, doubt, and dark nights. The unspoken reality. Awakening is not a one-time event, but an ongoing, often grueling process. To honor the path, we must see its fractures. Only by embracing the raw truth beneath sanctified stories can real freedom ignite. After peeling back myth after myth, you stand at a crossroads. Remain a passive believer, or reclaim the sacred duty to question everything. Cultivate your inner skeptic. Treat every teaching as provisional. Before you accept a mantra, test it in the furnace of your own experience. Doubt is not disloyalty. It's the compass that steers you toward direct knowing. Form your circle of truth. Seek companions who dare to speak their unease. In small groups, challenge each other's assumptions. Expose contradictions. Share failures. And craft a communal map that honors inquiry over idolatry. Document your discoveries. Keep a doubt journal. Record every hesitation, every clash with dogma, and every insight born of questioning. Over time, these entries form a ledger of your authentic path, untouchable by marketing or myth. Speak up with compassion. When you confront a teacher or peer, frame your questions as offerings. I'm curious about, I'm struggling with, rather than accusations. This preserves respect while breaking the silence that feeds deception. Declare your autonomy. Remind yourself daily, my awakening is not for sale, not for show. Let that declaration be your rallying cry whenever the lure of convenience, comfort, or conformity tempts you to go quiet, to walk forward. Arm yourself with questions, and let no answer cage the fire that doubt ignites. Disillusionment can crush the spirit or catalyze the boldest leap of all. Here's how to transmute disappointment into the diamond of true awakening. Embrace your rage as fuel. Allow your indignation at hypocrisy to become a driving force. Channel that energy into relentless self-investigation rather than bitterness, fueling the forge that refines raw insight. Break every idol. Identify the one belief or image you still cling to, the perfect practice, the ideal teacher, the state of mind. Smash it mentally. Watch the fragments of expectation scatter and claim the open sky that remains. Forge your own rituals. Invent practices that resonate with your lived truth. Rituals free from lineage scripts or commercial gloss. Let each act, lighting a candle, writing a line of poetry, be an affirmation of your ungoverned devotion. Live as the question become restless curiosity incarnate. In every conversation and gesture and breath, murmur the unasked question that keeps you alive to mystery. What else is true? Dance with uncertainty. Find ecstasy in not knowing. Let ambiguity become the music to which you move. Each step a testament that freedom blooms only in the fertile soil of the unknown. Disillusionment is not your downfall. It is the crucible in which the truest, wildest awakening is born. All the shattering revelations, the broken idols, and the flames of your righteous anger converge here into a freedom that neither dogma nor doubt can touch. Seamless wholeness. Insight isn't a peak you summit. It's the realization that the entire mountain was you. Every part of your journey, misstep and all, becomes the tapestry of liberation itself. Living beyond belief and skepticism, no longer tethered to yes or no. You dwell in the spacious middle where answers and questions dissolve. This vantage is unshakable. Reality is neither proved nor disproved. You meet it face to face, alive and unfiltered. Embodied integrity. Your actions naturally align with your deepest truths. You live without scripts. Choices arise from the field of awareness, not from any manual. This integrity is your unassailable refuge. Freedom as an everyday act. Liberation isn't a state to maintain. It's the simple act of waking up again and again to what's here. Washing dishes, walking the dog, offering kindness. All become the unguarded expression of your unbound heart. When insight and authenticity unite, freedom isn't an endpoint. It's the only way you live, breathe, and become every moment. This series has been a torch in the dark. Now I hand you the fire. Live beyond everything you've been taught and everything you've doubted. Become the unspoken truth. Walk without maps. Abandon all destinations, spiritual or mundane. Trust the intelligence of your own steps and let the path reveal itself in real time. Speak only what transforms. Before you speak, feel if your words crack open freedom or cement another belief. Let silence be your podium more often than speech. Serve from the abyss. Give not from surplus, but from the very emptiness you discovered. Offer your service as the echo of liberation, not as a gesture of your own generosity. Be the question unanswered. Live so that every encounter leaves a question hanging in the air, inviting others into the mystery you embody rather than the answers you claim. You are now the living paradox, both the dismantled seeker and the unfettered witness. Walk as the question no one dares to ask, and be the freedom that needs no proclamation. We've confronted the abyss of self-annihilation, exposed profiteers, shattered dogmas, and turned doubt into our ally. Yet the final alchemy isn't another payoff. It's a freedom so profound, it laughs at every concept of reward. Beyond pleasure and pain, enlightenment isn't an emotional high or a relief from suffering. It's the indestructible aliveness that witnesses joy and agony alike without flinching. When every thrill and every tear dissolves into the same clear light, you discover a joy that needs no object. The luminous void. In the vacuum left by exploded beliefs, there lies a radiant emptiness, not hollow, but pregnant with infinite possibility. This luminous void is the soil where spontaneous delight sprouts. No seeds planted, no harvest expected. Unnameable bliss words fail. You try to describe a taste, a color, a melody, but this joy transcends sense and syntax. It is the silent laughter of awareness itself, an ecstatic resonance in the core of being that no doctrine can capture. Everyday transcendence. Washing laundry becomes a celebration. The hum of traffic, an orchestrated symphony. The boundary between sacred and mundane evaporates. Each breath, step, word is an unspoken poem of freedom, alive, unrehearsed, unclaimed. The ultimate reward of awakening isn't a state to attain, but the ever-present spark that illuminates every moment, an unspoken joy that dances beyond every word. This series has torn away illusions and armed you with radical insight. Now comes the true test. Will you let this fire die in the cave of your mind, or carry its flame into the world? Live the unspoken. Don't preach what you've learned. Embody it. Let your presence, unannounced and unrehearsed, be the invitation to freedom for those you meet. Ignite without imposing. Offer compassion like a candle in darkness, bright enough to guide, gentle enough not to scorch. Touch lives without leaving burns of ideology or expectation. Stand as the question. In every encounter, speak less of answers and more through curious silence. Let your unspoken question, what else is possible, linger in the air and spark wonder. Be the radical gift. The world demands trophies, followers, likes, titles. Instead, give your authenticity, a refusal to conform, a courage to question, a willingness to remain unknown, yet utterly alive. Carry this fire wherever you go, not as a burden, but as the lightness of being that transforms every shadow it touches.